On to our very first Skype podcast, isn't it?
Actually, it is. This is the first one we've done on Skype, and I'm really, really happy that we've got Daniel Priestley,
author of two of our favourite books, Oversubscribed and Entrepreneur Revolution. If you've never heard of them, you're going to hear about them today, and I urge you to go and buy them. It may just revolutionise your business as it has for us.
Yeah.
Daniel, thank you.
My absolute pleasure to be on the first Skype podcast, this podcast.
Yes,
yeah.
Episode number 5 with yourself. So it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. You're obviously a very busy man.
Yeah.
What have you been up to over the last couple of weeks?
Oh, well, we ran an event in London for about 400 people here in London. We've been doing some big stuff in Australia and Singapore. I'm about to head out to Singapore as well. Wow. Just launching a new website, 24assets.com. Lots of fun, and then finding some time to play with my 2-year-old.
All right, so to a boy or a girl?
Little boy,
nice.
Lots of fun, great age.
Nice. So we had a small chat at the start. You're living in London. You've been there for a number of years. How do you find London's a good central location for you to do what it is you do?
I absolutely love London. London's like the most international city in the world. You meet people from all over the world here. You've got a great mix of creative people, academics, finance people, political people, and just cool people. So you got people of all different religions, different backgrounds, different countries, all in one big happy city.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And the key with everything is obviously networking. So do you find was that a big decision in it? And staying in London, was the international networking opportunities there, do you think? Or?
I came here, I was just going to be here for a couple of years. And I was here for a couple of years, and I thought, you know what, I'll stick around a little longer and stay for the Olympics. And then as soon as the Olympics is over, I'll head back to Australia. Mm-hmm. And then I just fell in love with the place. I made it my home, and I live very central London. Obviously I met someone here, and we got married and had a baby. So yeah, London's home. But it's also a great place because I fly off to the US. I fly out to Singapore. It's a good central time zone.
Yeah.
I like the place, and there's great networking. There's not much you can't find here.
Absolutely. Do you spend how often do you spend writing your books? Are you working on any just now? Is that something you fit into your day, or do you do it in bursts, like creative bursts, when you feel like you want to write about something?
Yeah, I definitely have bursts. I typically have a burst of about 4,000 words at a time. A book is typically about 40,000 words. So at the moment I'm working on my new book, 24 Assets, and I've co-authored a couple of books recently. So I co-authored a US edition of KPI, Key Person of Influence, and I co-authored a book called What's Your Business Worth, which is on business valuation. I love writing on planes, actually. When I take the flights, I love to most of writing.
So we were chatting there about the great city that London is for some networking.
Yeah.
We were in there recently as well.
Yeah,
you only need to spend half an hour there, and you can meet some random person from anywhere in a coffee shop somewhere or something like that.
Yeah.
So I can see why you stay there for sure. It's really cool. Mm-hmm. You're also mentioning how you like writing books on planes when you're traveling.
Yeah, I love to write on planes. I'll do about 3 or 4 hours.
Right. Okay.
Of just writing on planes.
That's good. That's cool.
I typically I'll dose up on black coffee. I'll have like 2 or 3 black coffees, and I'll just write.
Yeah.
That caffeine just stimulates some sort of all that energy has to go somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree there. We're quite similar when it comes to the old coffee. I'm on the black coffee. He still likes a cappuccino, so I'm trying to wean him off the milk, you see.
Yes, yeah. We're trying. We're trying.
But, I really love travelling and reading. That's where I've done a lot of absorption on this one. I find it really, really easy to read. It's one of those ones where before you know it, you're just marching through the chapters very easily, and I always take notes on my phone as well whenever there's a wee nugget in there, and I always take a note of it. So it's really good, and your books are fantastic for all those nuggets. And one thing I do notice is that you just don't hold back. You don't seem to hold back on anything, which is these days very, very important. obviously because there's so much information out there. It's information overload, and and that's something I've taken from your book as well. It's like, give away your best stuff for free, and that'll attract a wider audience. So that's something I've certainly taken from. It's been a great.
So Daniel, where would you say laid the foundation for your train of thought on writing The Entrepreneur Revolution and Oversubscribed? Where was stimulating these ideas, and why did you decide to give away? I mean, in our eyes, it's give away, a book that really, really can help people grow their business.
Yeah, so my background is as an entrepreneur. I built a reasonably valuable company in my 20s, I'd been working really hard, doing a lot of marketing and copywriting and all of those sorts of things, and I felt that I learned a lot on that journey. And then in 2010, I released a book called Keyless, which was all about the idea that technology builds personal brands and that it's a strategy that people should focus on. And it really kind of started to bring together some ideas around the times that we live in. Some of the ideas that I wrote in that book were a little bit far out, and they were a little bit radical and didn't quite fit the theme of the Key Person of Influence book. So I started pulling them out and putting them into those chapters are basically the first few chapters in Entrepreneur Revolution. So once I had got Key Person of Influence out, and I really loved having a book out, and I wanted to do another one, I had about 4 to 8, I think it was about 4 or 8,000 words that I'd pulled out, which basically began the Key, Entrepreneur Revolution book. And then the Oversubscribed book was a strange one. I was looking at this restaurant that had a big queue of about 30 or 40 people lined up down the street waiting to get in the restaurant. And I just thought to myself, why are these people not looking on their smartphone and finding another restaurant? Why are they not finding another really good 5-star restaurant that does a great meal?
Yeah.
And why are they willing to line up? In a digital age, why are they willing to line up? So I remember thinking someone should write a book about why people queue up, why they line up. And it sort of, it was in the back of my mind. And then I saw Apple doing a certain launch for a product, and I saw a couple of different places that were having sort of like waiting lists, Glastonbury Music Festival.
Yeah.
And I thought, actually, there's definitely a book in this explaining why people line up for things. So I just started writing about it, and it all just came tumbling out really quickly. And I sort of wrote it in a matter of, I don't know, maybe 8 weeks. Just sort of put a whole heap of ideas into different chapters, and away it went.
That's amazing, and I'm smiling as you're explaining that, because I've read about those exact things in your book, like the Glastonbury Music Festival, and it's funny. I remember exactly where I was travelling in London when I read that particular part, which is quite funny. It's like sometimes when you hit a moment of, you take a wee second, you look out the window and you're like, shit, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Right, let's go back to it now, and like, it's brilliant. It's brilliant stuff. I urge anyone who's going to be tuning in to get these books.
I mean, I think also it's just when you get one of those ideas. I mean, we run workshops and classes, and one of the things we always say to the young people that we work with is always, like these books that exist, like the books that you've written, and I would imagine you've taken lots of influence from other books as well that are in the sort of same genre, same field, personal development or development of your business or just anything in that sort of field. Is like, if you're going to read something and it's going to benefit you or your business, you need to actually utilize the information you've just read, or you're just reading it for no reason. And I think with your book, there has been a few of those light bulb moments where we've kind of been thinking, this is more something we need to be doing. We need to apply to our business because it obviously works. And I think it's, the fact that you've condensed that into, the books aren't even that long. You've really managed to put a lot of good stuff in those books. And I mean, one of the books was 8 weeks it took you to write. I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing. With the golden content that's in there, you'd think it takes longer, but, as Stephen said at the start, there's a sea of information out there now. It's picking and choosing what is the good stuff and with some of the crap that you get out there.
That goes for books as well, I think.
Yeah.
There's just so much out there. Everyone's trying to write about the same thing, but you've definitely got a trend happening with your ones. And some books I pick up and I just can't read them. There's just certain things, and I guess that's just down to personal taste. When it comes to reading.
Just This is just nice. I just sit around here listening to you guys talking about how great my books are.
Well, see, we always say as well, if
This is
at
the best.
least
This is the best interview I've ever done.
Good.
good.
Oh, well,
You basically just invite me on the show just to say that you love the books.
well, it's part of it.
That's certainly part of it. But the thing is, though, I've picked up so much information from watching interviews, from listening to podcasts, listening to conversations between people, and that's how people learn these days. And it's part of our agenda is to get as much great stuff, great people on the show, and people can take what they want from that and go and devise their own plans and all of that. So even just having you on here is like, it's blowing us away, and I'm sure it'll blow away the listeners.
So you were talking about you started off a business. Right now, what are your main focuses and key areas of business? What are you up to now in terms of, when you're travelling about, what are you doing? Tell us a bit more about Daniel Priestley and how you are making your living.
Yeah, sure. So our core business is called Dent Global, which is a business accelerator company. We run business accelerators. We've had over 2,500 companies come and work with us in Australia, Singapore, UK, and the USA.
Wow.
A lot of that is about running workshops, away days, trainings, doing some on-site work with clients. So that's the core of the business. We also do these big 400 or 500 person events somewhere in the world every month or 2 months, which are just the big one-day promotional events. And then sideline to that, we have 12 people who work in technology who are building projects for our clients. We have a film production studio that does filming. We have a publishing house that has over 700 books that we publish now. So I'm also a stakeholder in some really fun little companies and some not so little companies. One of the companies has actually become a business worth tens of millions of dollars based in the US, which I helped it to get started in the early days. Now it's a very big, very successful company. So I mean, look, I kind of I run the business. We got 50 full-time people working in the company. We have clients all over the world. Most of our clients are in the UK, Australia, and Singapore, and the US. I write books, I record videos, all that sort of stuff.
Do you see yourself as like a serial entrepreneur? Someone do you always feel as if you've always been wanting to do many different things? Or have you started at one and let it progress as times went on? Yeah,
I mean, I have had several entrepreneurial adventures. I don't really think of myself as a serial entrepreneur in the same way, if a doctor started out as a GP and then a specialist and moved around a little bit, that just a doctor. For me, I've always been an entrepreneur, so I've had different businesses. They've evolved and morphed, and I bought and sold companies and that sort of stuff. For me, I just think about, I'm pursuing a passion. It's a form of art. It's an art form. It's an expression. It's a form of expression. It's about having a bigger vision and turning that vision into a company that can touch a lot of lives in a lot of places and have a big impact.
Well, I think it seems to be doing that, exactly what you're saying, and there's a whole new revolution of people being able to do something, especially with technology now, something that they're passionate about, and I think that's what you touched on there is such an important thing. And I think any sort of lessons that we've learned from people that have done or achieved things that we would love to achieve before us, that is like the key message, is always follow something you're passionate about, and that's so important. Yet so many people in life get stuck doing something they're not passionate about.
Yeah, success takes so long, and you have to make so many damn sacrifices that if you're not passionate about it, you probably won't stay with it long enough. Mm-hmm. It's also, I think it's a little bit misunderstood because, it's a tricky one. You have to find a blend. You have to find a blend between passion, commercial reality, and the ability to deliver really great values. So at all times you're trying to balance and make a few trade-offs between, am I passionate about this? Am I damn good at this? And can I make money from this? And I've found that typically that blend is not necessarily at the extremes. So, if I said, what's my extreme passion, it would probably be something like snowboarding, scuba diving and traveling and all that sort of stuff. But there's nothing that I can really add to the snowboarding equation that hasn't been done. I don't have the ability to snowboard at that level where I'm doing something of interest to people, and there's no real commercial ecosystem that I could imagine for myself as a snowboarder, considering that I'm pretty terrible at it. So even though that would be pursuing a passion, I ultimately have to make some sort of a trade-off there because that's it doesn't incorporate the other ingredients that are needed. There are things that I could do for money where I could earn a lot more money than I currently earn. There are certain types of businesses that I could build. There are certain consulting projects that I could get involved in. There's, I could be very exclusive to particular niches that are very lucrative. But it really would take me away from my ultimate passion.
Yeah.
So going to that extreme is not the answer either. And then also delivering value, I could probably go into the academic route and create some more academic materials and try and build more of an academic career and be a professor. But that is too far away from commercial and passion as well. So it's about finding that trade-off where you're not. Because I feel like sometimes people misunderstand the whole thing about go pursue a passion, where they basically say, oh, well, in which case I don't have to worry about money and I don't have to worry about being very good at this. And that's kind of I don't think that's the answer either.
Yeah, that's certainly not the reality. I mean, what we do is I've been DJing and producing music for many years. And off the back of that, we felt there was no place in Scotland delivering the type of value when it came to music production training. And that's morphed, and that came off the back of a passion. But I knew I was good at it. I was already successful, so it was a perfect sort of lead on. And it's worked. It's worked well, and we're sitting here now, and it's great. And Stephen's background was sales and networking and stuff. So bringing it all in together, we're across Scotland, doing workshops and programs for educational bodies and like schools, colleges, and stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's so great. You guys are finding that blend.
Yeah, so it's good. It's quite refreshing hearing it actually, because it's all about that. It's about finding something you're good at, you like, and it's commercially viable. So
it's that is the issue, and everyone is, I suppose, whether they know it or not, are trying to find out their life's purpose. And sometimes you stumble across it, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you need to work very hard on it. And as you said, success is it's a very long-term thing. In terms of financial success, it's even more sort of long term. And I think that the people that strive through it, first off, do enjoy it, but second off, realise that when you start a venture, it's potentially a 5 to 10 year process. It's maybe even longer, maybe shorter. It's different for everybody's journey, but it's having that longevity in your mind, isn't it, that puts you more at peace, I suppose, when there is struggling times. As you say, like, the reality is you do need money to survive. It can't all be, I just love my job, but I'm eating rice every night. It's like, so it is trying to find that blend is a very, very hard thing.
Absolutely, I feel agree. Was there any particular moment where you thought, I'm doing this right? Like the struggle was over. I've hit a point where, no, this is actually working. I'm enjoying the process now. Yeah,
I've had many moments like that. Where everything has come together. There's the big money, there's the financial payoff. I've had moments where I've been up on stage in front of 500-600 people, and the audience has just been, you look through the feedback and the tweets and all that sort of stuff, and you think, wow, that's added a lot of value. Mm-hmm. There's been moments where we raised hundreds of thousands for charity, and we knew that the fact that we're building a business that raises a bunch of money for charity. And there's also been big paydays where the financial successes come in, and you think to yourself, the financials, what now seems like a small deal was a huge deal to 5-10 years ago, and now these deals happen every week or every month. So there's been moments like that. However, the problem is that you don't tend to arrive. As soon as you hit a level, you enjoy it for a little bit, and then you go and sign yourself up for some more bullshit.
It's never ending, is it?
I know.
Yeah,
it's like, it's so crazy.
There's something so wrong with the male brain.
It's so crazy, and I it's like this. It's happened to us on such a smaller level than yourself, obviously, But we've set out targets. We've got whiteboards downstairs in the office. I don't know, maybe one day we can show you. I don't know, it'd be great. But, we'd put something up, and, 2 months later we'll go, shit, that's all happened.
Like, you need to watch what you're putting on the whiteboard, man, because it's like I'm scared, man. What's coming next?
He says to me all the time, you better watch what you put in that whiteboard because, pretty much all of it's happening. You need to be really careful.
Yeah, yeah. And then as soon as it's done, you're putting more stuff on the whiteboard.
Yeah.
Like I remember my business partner Glenn. He had this thing that he wanted to be featured in GQ magazine, and he wanted the business featured in GQ magazine, and he was over here in London, and he holds up his phone. He goes, "Oh, look, we're in GQ magazine," and they've done like the whole thing about us and the photos and all that sort of stuff. And I went, "Oh, that's cool. That's really cool." I said, "There's some great quotes in there, and we'll be able to put that on some of our slides." But because of what we were talking about at the time, we're just focused on this next big milestone.
Yeah.
And then I stopped and I said, about 2 or 3 years ago, this was a big goal for you. And he goes, "Yeah, I remember writing that down, that, it'd be great to be featured in GQ magazine." And I said, well done. And he went, "Yeah, cool. Yeah, we got that." Anyway, back to what we were talking about.
I know.
Sounds like us, but
it does. I know, we're laughing because we can,
totally relate
to that. That's.
For us, we've been talking about getting a van for a long, long time. And just a few weeks ago, we flew down to London to pick up our new van and drove all the way back up to Scotland. And it was an incredible sensation. In fact, we probably dwelled a little bit more than you guys did on how happy we were being in the van. But of course, we were in the van plotting the next thing, So
yeah, we were on our driving back up to Glasgow from London in the van with the laptop open, devising the next thing, not even really thinking about it. It's.
We're going to be, exactly. Van, now GQ magazine.
Yeah. Well, we're going straight up.
Well, certainly a Daniel Priestley podcast would have been on our list at one point. We need to get Daniel on, and here we are. So I think, as Stephen said, if you're ever coming over visiting, that might be the next one if you're in Scotland, my man.
Where are you guys? Are you in Edinburgh? Are you in Glasgow?
Just outside Glasgow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
cool.
Yeah, it's a place called Dumbarton.
I'll have to
famous for
look
whiskey.
you guys up when I'm up there. Nice.
Absolutely.
We're right next to, actually, the studio office that we're in is right next to Dumbarton Castle. It's a very historic castle in the UK. When Scotland was fighting England and all that, there was a lot of stuff here. So it was, that's a historic place.
I love that stuff. I love Scotland. Scotland's just the best. And I love Edinburgh. Beautiful, beautiful city. And I love the Scottish accent. It's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, except for the really, really thick Scottish accent. I was once up in Edinburgh and I went into this little cafe and I was sort of ordering something. I said, "Oh yeah, I have that." And she says, "Oh, Hen, you want some ham on your piece?" And I went,
that was pretty good. That was amazing. That was pretty good.
I said, "What? She says, Hen, you want some ham on your piece?" And I went, I said, "I have no idea what you're saying." And then the person next to me said, She's asking if you want some ham on your sandwich. I went, okay, yeah, no, yeah, but I had no idea.
Oh, well, that's a cracker.
That's great.
We've got some more.
So I definitely
we'll get back because we could talk about Scotland and accents.
We could talk about that for sure.
What would I was thinking something now. If you're working internationally now and you're talking Singapore, America, Australia, Britain, what would you say when you're running workshops are the key differences with the audiences in different countries? Where is a little bit more engaged? Where is a little bit harder to break down? Or do you find that they're all quite similar and it's just all people that are looking to better themselves?
Yeah, I found that the similarities are far greater than the differences. People they really just want to make the most of the times that we live in. Everyone seems to recognize that we're living in very special times, that things are changing, that what's possible today has never been possible any time in the past, and that there are going to be some people who are left behind and some people who really make the most of it. And I think people really want to, seize this opportunity. There are slight differences. In Australia, people say yes and then figure out what the hell they've said yes to. In the UK, people are a little bit slower, a bit more hesitant to say yes. But once they've said yes, they jump right in 2 feet. In Singapore, people make decisions a little bit slower and they're a little bit more cautious, and they want a little bit more information, and but it's just slight differences in the speed that people make decisions. And it's all got its pros and cons because, Australia is probably the easiest country to just do quick business. You can kind of, within Australia, you can say, hey, I've had an idea, and why don't we do that together? It'll cost 20 grand. And they go, yeah, great, let's do it. And then no one knows what the hell they've signed up for or what you're doing. So you have to almost do another conversation around what the hell we said yes to.
Yeah.
So there's some funny things like that. But ultimately, I think the biggest thing is the similarity of just people recognize that we're living in very special times.
Absolutely.
No, absolutely. And a bit of advice, obviously, for us, we're at the very, very start of this, and we're going through all the motions with regards to like building a team and stuff. Advice on like entrepreneurs starting out: should they, follow their gut, take their time, without trying to do too much at the one time, or should they, what I'm trying to say?
Some advice. Yeah. So here's a couple of things. Number one, entrepreneurial teams should start much like a bank robbery. You should get 3 or 4 or 5 people together in a dark room with a big piece of paper and some flip charts and some whiteboards, and you should stay there for days on end, planning and plotting and scheming and doing calculations and figuring out who's going to do what. If you imagine the bank robbery scene, it's always, this guy's a really good driver, so he's going to do the getaway driver, and this guy's intimidating, so he's going to let off the shotgun and keep everyone on the floor, and this guy's going to crack the safe.
Yeah.
And you kind of like, you're working out the plan, and you go down and you stake out the bank, and you work out, it's at 9:53 the guards change, so we're going to go in at 9:54. So it's kind of like that. You pull together a little team of people, and you've got an outcome that you want to achieve. You should have like fast, quick wins that you go for. Like, we're going to run an event, we're going to do a launch, we're going to sell 10 products. So it's like as quick as possible, as fast as possible, we're going to put it together. And you just kind of assign the roles, and you just try and figure out, what don't we know, what don't we understand, what do we assume that maybe we isn't true. So you just kind of like keep talking it around intensely for a few days, and then you get out there and hit it together as a little team of 3 or 4 people, which is really cool.
Yeah.
The other huge thing, the difference between companies that make it and companies that tend to fail, is that I call it ABS braking. ABS braking means anything but sales. So when I see small companies that struggle, they are willing to do anything but sales. So they'll spend weeks creating a website. They'll spend weeks creating some training program. They'll spend weeks creating some Instagram accounts. But what they won't do is they won't call someone up, meet them for a coffee, and say, I've got this thing that's, do you want to give us your credit card numbers or not?
Yeah. Straight down.
And they don't just go and ask for the business. Ultimately, all businesses rely upon a constant game, a constant rhythm of generate 50 leads, have 10 appointments, make 2 sales. And it's just really, a big business is just a business that does that every day, and a small business is a business that does that every month. And that's the difference.
Yeah.
But 50 leads, 10 appointments, 2 sales. It's very easy to think that it's that you're going to set up a website and people are going to punch in their credit card numbers, but they just don't.
Not anymore, anyway.
No, and people will download some stuff for free. They'll check you out, but ultimately, you make a business work by generating 50 leads, having 10 appointments, and making 2 sales. So the speed at which you can do that determines how big the business gets real fast.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that people price themselves way too cheap. So I see so many people creating a product that's maybe £100 or £200. The minimum price that your core package, the main thing you make your money off, the minimum price has to be £1,750.
Okay. Right, just in general.
Just in general.
Yeah, it should be.
Just in general.
Right.
I'll tell you why, right? So if you have a product that's £1,750 and you make 1 sale a week, that'll equal £83,000 for the year. which means you're above the VAT threshold. It means that you've done something to get out of that self-employment bubble, and now you're into having a business. If you try and sell something that is £100, you have to sell 20 of them a week just to pay the basic bills, and you're just not going to sell 20 a week. So if you go up a gear again, let's say you sell something for £5,000, you could put together packages that are typically £5,000. You sell one of those a week. Now you can sell if you met with 10 to 15 qualified leads and pitch them a deal for £5,000, you'll sell one a week. You'll definitely sell one a week. So if you're selling 5,000 a week, right, now you're at 20,000 per month. Now you're at 240,000 per year. Now you've got a business. You can employ people. So now you can actually employ a telesalesperson to do the appointment setting. Now you can employ someone to coordinate the delivery of the product, all of those sorts of things. So a huge mistake small businesses make is that they don't have a core product that is north of 1750. 1750 is the minimum. And I've worked with so many businesses, and as soon as we get a package together that's more than 1750, they can just start to get ahead.
That's really cool. That's spot on. It really resonates. I know I've read that book from Andy Harrington as well, and the penny dropped when I was reading about that with regards to pricing, because everyone automatically, I don't know, human nature feels like you're underpriced for some reason. But the reality is you've got something. Well, we certainly do, and all the great businesses out there, something of real value there, which can then turn into serious value for the business that buys the product or the service.
Yeah, it's the only reason it's working. If there was no value in what we were doing, it simply wouldn't be growing as much. But that's a really, really important thing.
Yeah, that's great.
I think the problem is as well, Daniel, is there's loads of people out there that will be thinking, well, my product, I could not sell it for $17.50. I just couldn't do it. And I think, again, that is because of the mentality that's kind of ingrained into you that, oh, no one's going to pay that for that thing. So, is it really... would you just... Is this the sort of approach you have with every business that you go in and try and help? You're like, look, $17.50, we're doing it. This is the way it's got to be from there on in. What would you say about that? Oh, yeah, we're there, Daniel. You there?
So I missed a little bit of that because it was the internet. Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah. I can hear you. It's
can
a
you
little
hear me?
bit ropey, but
oh, you got me?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes,
cool.
hopefully,
Yeah. So look, a couple of things on the mentality side of things. On the mentality, get and sit down there at the BMW dealership and watch how many people come and go. Right? If you grew up in a household where 1750 was a lot of money, you need to. If you're going to have to. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, we're just having some
yeah, we're
technical
having
issues.
Can you hear me?
some slight issues.
Some technical. We can hear you, but
Yeah.
it's going in and out. So we heard if you
Yeah,
were at the
yeah.
BMW dealership, and that's all.
So like if it's just. Oh, there we go. Sorry. Okay, I think we're back on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you grew up in a household where 1750 is a lot of money, you need to go down to the BMW dealership and look at how many people go walking in and out every hour. There are hundreds of people every day going in and out with their BMWs. Now, that's a car that's not sold on price. It's not the cheapest car. And, then you go down the Mercedes dealership and it's happening there as well. And then you go down the Porsche dealership and it's in there as well. There is so much money around. Now, when you look at just getting a business off the ground, you only really need to sell, a couple of $100,000 a year worth of products. You don't need that many people, provided you're selling something that's a few £1,000s. So you need to just sort of get your head reacclimatized to how many people are out there spending real money.
Yeah.
Every single day, people are just walking down and spending £5,000 on a watch at the local Rolex dealership.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's just there's plenty of people out there, plenty of money. You just got to pitch a solution that's real. But the issue around the 1750 is that if you get your little team together and you get a whiteboard, and at the top of the whiteboard you put 1750 or 2,500 or 3,500, and you simply ask yourself the question, what would we package up? What would we do that would be worth more than $17.50? And who would buy it? And you just keep brainstorming and brainstorming and brainstorming. You'll come up with an answer. It might be that, for example, a fitness trainer might say, "Oh, I'm 45 pounds an hour," and you say, "Well, package up minimum of 50 hours or something like that, right? And make sure that you're doing a 12-month package." But figure out what has to happen. Include, package in a photographic session, package in sports supplements and nutrition, package in life coaching.
Yeah.
Package it all in. Just figure it out. But just know that if you can't figure that out, it's a really difficult game. So the other day, this guy says to me, he says, "Oh, I want to create a community for artists." And I said, "How long have you been working on this?" He said, "About 9 months, 12 months, something like that." I said, "What are you working on?" He says, "Oh, I've been building a platform. I've been building content. I've been creating a list of books. I've been creating speakers who will agree to be part of it when it launches and all this sort of stuff." I said, "How many have you sold?" He goes, "Well, I'm not ready to start selling it yet." I said, What are you talking about? Right? Get a clipboard, print out some brochures, some basic brochures, go and sit down with people at the local coffee shop and see if you can get them to spend £2,000 joining a community for artists. And if the answer is no, ask them what they would spend £2,000 on. And if the answer is nothing, go back to the drawing board and find another idea. And you can have 20 ideas in 9 months, but sit down, try and sell it. If you can sell it, then run with it and build it. If you can't sell it, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And he said, the other thing is he was building this platform. And I said, why don't you just run it on Facebook? Mark Zuckerberg already spent $1 billion building you a platform. And people are addicted to it. Why on earth? He goes, "Oh, but then it wouldn't be our brand." I said, who gives a shit?
Mm-hmm.
If it works, if it takes off, then build another platform. If it doesn't work, you've lost nothing. Just start on Facebook. Start with YouTube. Start with Facebook. You can do everything on Facebook now.
Absolutely, and that's great. That's great advice there. And a big thing that I've learned, it's like it's not about coming up with something that you think's great and then trying to force it onto people. It's like the signs are out there for what people need, and it's like go out there, a bit of market research, figure out something, and build your solution around the problem that you discover. And if it works, as you say, fantastic. You're in there. I see a lot of people trying to create a thing that they think's what the world needs is this thing.
Yeah. They're forcing their thing on the world because purely and simply because that's what they can do.
Yeah.
But you got to try and find a fit. You got to find a fit, but you don't have to build much stuff in order to find a fit. You really don't. You really just need to get some color printed brochures and some slides on an iPad and sit down at the local coffee shop and say, what do you think of this? The other thing too is I love to create fantasy brochures. So fantasy brochures is where you imagine that budget is not even an option. And you say, if there was an open checkbook where someone would spend £20,000 on a solution, what would the ultimate fantasy product be? And so let's say like a music product, and we say, well, we fly to Ibiza and we go and we actually play in this particular club, and then we go over to Amsterdam and then we record in this studio, and then we work with this artist who's going to create this track, and then we're going to publish it for you and put it onto all of these platforms, and then we're going to create designs and covers, and we're going to do a whole promotion.
Sounds pretty accurate.
Yeah, right. And you just sort of say, well, if someone had £25,000 that they wanted to spend, what would we do with it?
Mm-hmm.
And you create packages. You don't create packages based on what can you do. You create packages on what could you organize. So, like for all of the products that I've ever built and sold, none of them are things that I know how to do. They're things that I know how to organize.
Yeah.
So like I see a photographer says, oh, well, my package is just photography. I say, well, why don't you include fashion and like image consulting? Oh, well, I don't do that. I go, well, you don't need to do it. Just package in some other image consultant, package someone else in. There's no need for you to need to do everything. You just package the bits in.
Yeah, no, that's really important. That's great advice, honestly, Daniel. That's brilliant. I'm really enjoying just sitting and listening to it. I feel like I'm reading a book.
Yeah.
Here, you know, it's just great.
I think another thing you'd like to touch on that you've had in your books, and you were talking about earlier, like about building value, what the value in it, like is being famous for a few, I believe, is in.
Yeah, that's something I loved actually, was the famous for a few thing. And what you find is everyone has an impression of being famous to the whole world. And that's impossible, you know, in most cases. Some cases it is possible, obviously, but
Yeah.
you know, famous for a few, that really struck me as something that's really important, and it's a great point to get out there. It's a big one I took. Because you know, you don't need to have a ridiculous.
Yeah, you don't need to be
ridiculous
Kanye
market,
West, you know. It's like,
And the one I liked you were talking about was about the fitness instructor in London
Mm.
who had 8 clients, I think it was.
Yeah,
And they all paid
each paying £18,000 a year.
yeah,
There you go.
and,
Yeah.
and
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, you know,
everyone's always looking to scale up their product and sell it to thousands and millions of people, but really, if the price is right and your core following's there, then you can make it happen with a smaller number.
Yeah. Oh, look at like I see people who have run massive businesses, and they have 10 to 20 clients. That's it. But they have 10 to 20 clients who each pay 150 grand a year.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they're building multi-million pound businesses off 10 to 20 clients.
that was such a moment for me, you know, because again, I was victim of that mindset, of course, as well, because it's just the way conditioning works. It's the way you're brought up and stuff. It's not until you go outward you actually start learning, and that was a big one. It's like, we don't need to try and impress absolutely everyone. You're going to get so many haters as you scale up as well. It's like Grant Cardone's a big one for that. It's like, give me more haters, you know, and it's quite good. It's quite a good way of thinking of it, because the more people that, you know, get pissed off with your stuff, then you're obviously doing something right. You're obviously making a good impact somewhere, you know.
Yeah.
You know, something you're going to say there.
Do you know, the other thing that's interesting is that it doesn't actually take a lot more energy to look after someone who's paying you $1,000 a month than someone who's paying you £100 a month. When someone's paying you £100 a month, especially if £100 a month is a lot to them, they want so much for that £100 a month. They're demanding, you know, lots and lots for £100 a month. If you sell to a bigger company, a bigger organization, or a bigger individual, and for them £1,000 a month is not a big deal, it's actually just as easy looking after someone on £1,000 a month than it is looking after someone who's paying you £100 a month.
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of it's about finding the right clientele. Then it's about finding the right people to sell your products to, because you could, like a guy we know, Gary McEwen, big entrepreneur in Scotland. He was talking about, you know, he started up a driving business, like learn how to drive, and his friend started one up at the same time. But he was in a part in Glasgow where £100 was quite a lot for lessons, and his friend started up in like Bearsden, which is a nice area, and the two of them had identical businesses, but Gary really struggled. And that story for me was like massive. There was no difference at all in the business, but the clientele were entirely different in the way they thought. So his issue was not the service; it was actually where he was positioned.
Yep.
And I guess that goes for business as well. It's like where you position yourself in the market is massive, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. So recently we've worked with a DJ. We've worked with 2 DJs recently. One, we helped them to identify a really easy £5,000 product that they can now sell 2-3 a week of, and they're loving that. And then the other one, he's created a DJ school. He's one of the biggest in the world now, and you know, he was selling DJ school packages for £100, and now he's doing top end DJ packages for 15-20 grand, and he's finding it a lot easier to sell the 15-20 grand packages, because some people really want to go all in and really establish themselves as a DJ. They really want to get it right. They want a whole business built around them, and they want to work with someone who knows how to do that. They don't want to pay £100 a month. They want to pay 20 grand and get it right.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's definitely interesting for us. It's along the line of work that we do. It's like DJ lessons and production and so many other things. So maybe that's another conversation for another time, Daniel.
Yeah.
But right, I was looking at.
Well, mind you, you can have both, right? You can have the lessons that you do once or twice a month, and they can be affordable for anyone. but then you can have a top end package for, when that person is really committed that the rest of their next 10, 15 years is going to be about DJing. They're going to want to work with professionals who can keep up.
Yeah.
And you can actually structure something for that sort of person as well.
Absolutely. Just, it's about the perception that people have regarding the zeros on the end of their bank, and the digital zeros. It's like £100 to someone so much, but 50 grand to another person who's involved in the oil industry is absolutely nothing. For instance, it's like,
yeah. Well, I mean, one of the products that I was talking about just recently was taking musicians who are successful outside of electronic dance music and helping them to do a crossover version of their EDM track. And if you get a musician who's successful in a different genre, for them, 5 to 10 grand to have an EDM track produced to do the crossover is not a big deal.
It's just about finding those people, I guess, isn't it? Again, that's identifying your market through research. Right?
So, like from reading your books and stuff, you've obviously got such an innovative way of marketing yourself and your brand. What would you suggest, or like maybe a top 3 tips for small businesses who are looking to advertise a little bit differently or grow their business? What would your top 3 tips be?
So the top tip would be don't promote the core product of what you do. Rather than promoting what you do, promote a step in between. So let's say, you've got a product package that's a few £1,000s. You might just promote an event. You might just promote, something basic, something that's a first step. So always promote the first step and collect signals versus trying to make sales. So just simply ask people, signal your interest. If you're interested in this, let me know. Just drop me an email. Make it really easy. Tweet me, message me, drop me an email if you're interested in working with us. Don't make people like buy online or anything like that. Just real simple. If you're interested, drop us an email. We'd love to talk to you. And then the second tip would be...
So you're slightly breaking up there, unfortunately.
I'm trying to automate it. I talk to people on the phone.
You're breaking up there a little bit, Daniel. On your second tip, unfortunately, we missed that whole...
We can't be missing tips here.
We need to go back. We need to get back to the tips.
All right. So tip two is when you get people interested, rather than trying to automate everything and trying to like have a system that automatically issues people a link or a code or any of that sort of stuff, pick up the phone and talk to them. Ask them what they're trying to get done. Ask them where they want to be in a few years' time. Ask them what frustrations they're trying to solve. But just talk to people, and don't try and get people to buy through a website or any of that sort of stuff, because you need to learn what people say. You need to learn the language they use. You need to learn what pisses them off, what excites them, who they're connected to, all of those kind of questions. You want to ask lots and lots of questions. People are trying to put barriers between themselves and their clients, like videos and websites, and it's like, as quick as possible, talk to as many people as possible. So that's one of the things, and do whatever you can to leave people feeling positively uplifted. So whatever it is you're doing, just make sure that at the end of the relationship or at the end of the delivery, you do something special, something nice, something unexpected that makes people feel 100% like they had a really great experience with you. And if you get it wrong, fix it.
Yeah, that's great. Fantastic. That's not only going to help people listening, but it's really smashing it home for us as well, because again, we're not a stranger to this amazing stuff you're saying. We've been doing our best to implement that, and certainly with the positive mindset and the positive attitude and connecting with clients. And Stephen here's so he's heads up the sales, and so every client that comes in, they sit and speak to Stephen first to see if they're a fit to SKapade and they're a fit for us, and also for Stephen to gauge what's going on. Asking the questions is so important, and it's something we certainly try and push out there.
Certainly, in terms of the game we're involved in, it's so cutthroat. Is actually resonated what you said there. Is one of the first things I'll always ask is, what are you looking to achieve? You know, and I'll just be straight up. It's like, look, we only want to work with you if you're serious about pursuing a career in music, because it's very, very hard. You need to be resilient and you need to be on the ball. And that's certainly something. It's the start of the conversation will be like, look, I know you love your music. Okay, what are you wanting to achieve?
Yeah.
And from there, that's when I can gauge how serious they may be, or I just want to have a number one hit and be a massive DJ, or don't we all? You know, it's like, you know, it's not really.
They need to watch that documentary of Steve Aoki. There's a documentary on Netflix at the moment about Steve Aoki,
Right.
and how he plays 250 sets a year. I mean, he fucking works.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's ever had a number one, but oh my God, does he work for his money?
Yeah.
And it's a good warm up to teach people, if you're going to make it in this business, you got to work. And it's true for any business. You know, you said that the music industry has become cutthroat. Every business has become cutthroat at the moment. You know, because if you're an accountant in London, you're now competing with an accounting firm in India, who have MBA level students, you know, who are working for peanuts.
So does this come back to having a great relationship with your clients then, and building that personal rapport? It comes right back to being nice to people again, really, doesn't it? Yeah,
it does. And just, really, you know, serving people, asking them what they need, asking them what they want, getting it done for them, and then just rolling up your sleeves and smashing it.
Yeah.
Kick the door off its hinges if you need to.
That's brilliant. Well, we don't want to keep you too long, Daniel. It's we've already went into like over an hour here, so I know you're a busy man, and I cannot thank you enough for taking time out of your day. You know, it's been absolutely amazing. Hopefully we can do it again. And who knows, if we're in London or you're up in Glasgow or something, we'd love to catch up physically this time.
All right, invite me along to a set.
Yes.
And turn me into a big DJ. I want a number one hit.
Hey, it's easy. Daniel, absolute pleasure. So everyone, this has been Daniel Priestley on the SKapade Show, episode number 5. Go and grab his books, oversubscribed, and what other, you got any other books you want to plug before you leave us?
The other one is Key Person of Influence. So there's the 3 at the moment, the 3 main ones.
Okay, fantastic.
Just buy the book.
Just go on them, go on Amazon. It's so easy. Click a few buttons, and you know it may possibly change the game for you. Yeah. I know it certainly helped us. So,
and I get £1.
And Daniel gets £1. So make sure Daniel gets his £1.
Brilliant. So yeah, thank you very much. See you soon.